Peppa Pig has been on our screens for over 20 years, and in that time, almost everything about the show has changed. The intro, the house, the characters, the animation. Nothing looks or feels the same as it did back in 2004. And today, we are breaking down exactly how Peppa Pig evolved, and some of these changes are going to surprise you. Let's start with where it all began. Peppa Pig first aired in 2004, but the show was actually created 2 years before that, back in 2002, by animators Neville Astley and Mark Baker. And the original version was different from what we know today. In the very first pilot, the narrator would introduce Peppa and her family. He basically narrated every action of the pig family. There was very little dialogue. And the narrator also described Peppa as little bossy, but still a great sister and a wonderful daughter.
Sometimes Peppa can be a bit too bossy.
By the time the show officially premiered in 2004, it already looked and felt completely different from that original pitch, and it has never stopped changing since. One of the biggest and most visible changes in the show is the house. For 20 years, the pig family lived in a simple single building with a yellow door facing the left side of the hill. That was it. But now the house is completely different. The entrance has moved to the right side, there are new windows, a garage has been added up, even though the family will probably never actually use it to park the car. There's now a slide in the garden for the kids. The old house also had a TV antenna on the roof, which has since disappeared. And inside, the changes are just as big. There's a larger kitchen, a brand new living room with a flat screen TV, separate bedrooms for all 3 kids. The pig family seriously upgraded. And since the house changed, the opening of the show changed with it. In the old intro, Peppa would appear standing above the show's logo and then fall into the backyard grass. But in the new version, the first thing we see is the new house. And Peppa walks straight out of it. The sky looks brighter and bluer, and the way Peppa introduces her family is completely different. Before, each character would snort, but now nobody snorts anymore. They just laugh.
This is Mummy and Daddy Pig.
George used to run toward Peppa and stop in front of her, but now he throws himself at her and falls to the ground. And since baby Evie is now part of the family, Peppa pulls a baby stroller into frame. Even the parents switched sides. Mummy Pig used to enter from the left and Daddy Pig from the right, but now they've swapped. Small changes, but once you notice them, you can't unsee them. When Peppa Pig first started, the family was simple, just 4 members: Peppa, George, Mummy Pig, and Daddy Pig. And apart from them, we had Grandma and Grandpa Pig, Uncle and Auntie Pig, Cousin Chloe, and baby Alexander. But slowly, that changed. Aunt Dottie was the first new addition to the pig family. She was mentioned as far back as 2011, but didn't properly appear in the show until 2025, revealed as Mummy Pig's long-lost sister, who had been living in another country. And then came the biggest change of all, baby Evie. Nobody expected a 3rd child, and her arrival completely shifted the family dynamic. George went from being the youngest to the middle child. The family that started as 4 has now grown into 5. If you go back and watch the earliest episodes, Peppa was actually quite mean. She was bossy, rude to George, and had a habit of laughing at others when they couldn't do something. She laughed at Daddy Pig for being bad at football, and also was bossy to Susie. But as the show grew and started reaching millions of kids around the world, the creators clearly decided to soften her character. The newer Peppa is kinder, more patient, and far more considerate of the people around her. She still has her moments, but that mean streak that defined her early character has completely disappeared. In the early seasons, the world was very small. Peppa's town, the park, Grandpa Pig's garden, the school, that was basically it. But over 20 years, everything changed. The pig family has now traveled to France, Italy, Australia, and even New York City. Each trip introduced new characters, new cultures, and new stories that the earlier seasons never could have told. Now here's a change that almost nobody caught: the sky. In the early seasons, the sky in Peppa's world was simple: light blue with a few clouds during the day, dark with stars at night, and occasionally stormy or snowy depending on the episode. That was it. But in the newer seasons, the sky has completely transformed. Now you can see orange and purple tones during sunrise and sunset. In the episode where Daddy Pig is making cheese sauce, there's a sky color that had literally never appeared in the show before. It's a small detail, but it shows how much more care and attention is going into every single episode now compared to 20 years ago. And it's not just the sky that's changed. Animation itself has also come a long way. In the early days, the show was simple and flat, which was part of its charm. But now the animators are doing things that would have been impossible in the first few seasons. The colors are more vibrant, and the animations are detailed. A great example is the Pancake Day episode, where Miss Rabbit cooks at a fancy restaurant. We see her cracking eggs, chopping ingredients at high speed, and juggling pancakes in the air. That kind of fluid, detailed animation simply did not exist in early Peppa Pig. The show has always been fun to watch, but visually, it is in a completely different league now compared to where it started. Let's talk about technology, because Peppa's world has seriously caught up with the real one. In the early seasons, the Pig family had an old boxy television, the kind that looks like it belongs in a museum. Their computer was equally outdated, but now the living room has a big modern flat screen. Mummy Pig's office has a high-end computer setup. Peppa takes photos on a smartphone, and Daddy Pig has even installed a camera with a monitor at home. For a show aimed at young kids, the fact that it's keeping up with modern technology is actually a big deal, and it's only going to become more relevant as the show continues. Now let's talk about the car. At the start of the show, Daddy Pig drove a red convertible. Simple, classic, no complaints. But then one day, he came home with a brand new blue electric car. And this one had a name, Roger. Roger could talk, he could drive himself, and he once nearly got a parking ticket because the police weren't sure a self-driving car was actually legal. Eventually though, Daddy Pig went back to the old red car. But now there's been another change. In the episode Test Drive, Daddy Pig buys another new electric car, this time with a roof and without the ability to talk. And the reason for the upgrade is actually really wholesome. He bought it because the family needed more space and better safety for baby Evie's arrival. And that brings us to Evie, one of the biggest changes the show has ever made. Nobody expected a third child to join the Pig family, and her arrival genuinely changed the direction of the series. But the most interesting thing about Evie isn't just that she exists, it's the small heart-shaped mark on her cheek. Because in 20 years of Peppa Pig, no character has ever had a marking like that. Every other pig in the show looks the same. So why does Evie have a heart on her face? Is it just a cute design choice, or is there something more behind it? And George has also evolved in a big way. For most of the show's history, George's vocabulary basically consisted of one word, dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
But in the newer episodes, George is speaking full sentences. In one recent episode, where Peppa and George go to buy ice cream, George is saying proper words.
Where is it?
From the kid who used to just cry and say dinosaur, that's a massive leap. George is growing up, and it looks like the show is going to keep pushing that forward in the seasons to come. And finally, one of the most exciting evolutions in the show is how imagination is now shown on screen. In the older episodes, when a character imagined something, you never actually saw it. In the episode Pretend Friend, Susie imagines a friend named Leo Lion. But Leo Lion never appears on screen. You just had to take her word for it. But now, when characters imagine something, we actually see it happening in front of us. The episode Lava is a perfect example. Here the Pig family are playing a pretend game where they pretend that floor is lava, and the whole room transforms into a lava scene right before your eyes. It's a creative change that makes the show so much more fun to watch, and it opens up a whole new world of storytelling possibilities for future episodes. So, 20 years in, and Peppa Pig is still changing, and honestly, the best parts might still be ahead.